Hi, it's Tantra. I've been laying low since COVID. When I had COVID in 2020, I started listening because I knew the world wasn't the same. I knew that we'd gone through some evolutionary crack in our egg, and I was very curious about what that crack meant, and also personally how I could line up with that crack. So this isn't just my data coming through my psychic, mystical, prophetic mind. It is also my personal experience. I don't know how many of you know, but since about 2014, I've had an experimental community. I shouldn't say we have had an experiential community. We call it the field of Tantra Mat, not because I'm the awesome leader, but because it followed principles of what takes care of life and has us exist as whole, what it is to be with another in the field, what is it to live where everything's part of everything else, where everything is in relationship with everything else, and everything is operating on behalf of everything else. In other words, a reality of unity. What is it like to be transparent, to listen to another in their direct link with creation? And this phenomenon happens, this information. In other words, we begin to figure out, we begin to tap into a forming, something that is forming. We could say in the consciousness of humanity, we wouldn't quite have it right probably, but in the biological field of humanity, in the thinking field of humanity, in the emotional field of humanity, since 2014, we've been observing. So we've been observing for almost 10 years. And when you observe and you interact, when you play around with some things over 10 years, you begin to get information that is, in a very interesting way, concrete, but not concrete in the paradigm of separation we were born into, but concrete in the paradigm of what it is to live an existence that's in unity with all life. So we have that life is outside of us, and we interact with it. So it's often very hard for human beings to know that they are life itself, and how we interact with life internally. And that doesn't mean just our thinking brain or our personality. It also means how we interact internally as a body, as a mind, as a spirit, as an emotion, as a sensory, sentient, intellectual, intelligent, dimensional being. So why am I doing this Facebook Live out of nothing, out of nowhere? Because I'm usually following some stream of thought, and I'm usually developing something over time. But I really did go dormant. I got dormant for many reasons. One is I had COVID, and I had to track the body, see how the body was responding to COVID, and seeing if I could use if what was available to me was an evolutionary moment for my body to evolve, which it has. It has evolved. In fact, I am probably healthier now, although I actually have been sick the last 2 weeks. But I'm actually healthier now than I was pre-COVID. So it isn't a matter of giving you a remedy or giving you an answer. It's about a real excitement on my part, and an excitement in this collective community that I'm not inviting you to join, and you're always welcome to pop into our WhatsApp thread, and you're always welcome to participate in our World of Unity on Wednesday night. But we're not promoting anything. We're really a living something global community that is starting to register, because it can only be registered in the collective. We're a collective consciousness, humanity is, and And certain things can only be registered in a collective manner. It's one of the reasons I think in the reality we're born into, there's such a drive to isolate us from each other or to turn against each other, because that way we can't hear the webbing of our incredible collective consciousness that operates beyond the effect of circumstance. So today I got really excited because there are a couple of things I've been noticing, but I hadn't been able to bring it to language in a coherent way, in a simple way, because I don't know if you know what it's like, but if you live something and you've seen it's real and you operate in the realness of it, then when you go to try to explain it to other people, it falls short. To say it simply, it falls short. So I just want to share a couple of things because we began to notice as a collective, we began to notice that the body was metaing. It was seeming to want to work things through, to be related in a way that was not figure outable. And yeah, it was hard to break the hold on the application of thought. Something's wrong. I'm aging. I'm getting old. My body is sick. My body's against me. It was hard to work that through, but it was in the collective consciousness, which is global, our global community. We could tell there was something else going on. And the body seemed to be metaing. And what was it metaing with? What was it working on metaing with? And then because we're a global consciousness, we began to notice, I have a group called iMagi European, and an iMagi Australian, and then an iMagi USA. And what we began to notice was that, and I pretty much closed off except for advertising iMagi USA, because we were in a think tank, another think tank. We were in a living as tank. We were in a let's listen, let's move with this, let's get grounded in what this so above, so below phenomenon is happening. What is that? And I don't have the language yet. I just have the excitement. But what I had known years ago, this is 2012, I knew I was going to start a global collective, really a be with tank, where we could be with principles of realities of unity and see what started to emerge. And this amazing level of coherence emerged. I mean, literally, and cohesion, because it's the natural state of human beings, to be able to be in a shared listening, not about what we're going to say is real, but about what each of us is real for us in our direct relationship with creation. To see what it is to live in a unified field, when that unified field seems to pulse and provide things like less illness, less death, an ability for the emotional field to broaden and widen and deepen, and so the full body experience of being alive can be more available. These are things we began to observe were standard, were a baseline after a while. So it's easier to live something than teach something. So when I started the group in 2014, we were just going to live something, and we're going to live it by direct experience. And that's pretty much what you're listening to today. Except I haven't found bridges sufficient to cross over into the public, because it's like the starfish thing. If a few human beings begin to realign themselves in their systems, re-relate to creation in the way a creation designed us to be, then that can affect the whole, and that's really been my interest. However, recently, we began to use this expression last year, metabody, partly because we were watching what was happening to our bodies, and we were noticing that they were morphing. They were interested in their own genetic awakening, and that they seem to be, as bodies are designed to do, including everything, and they seem to be moving it to the next greater whole. Now, the really crazy part, which you may not believe, and it's okay because I had this sudden urge to have this conversation, is something we couldn't get our head around. And this is all of Europe, Australia, United States, Mexico, Costa Rica, South America, not so much the eastern areas. But in these areas, we're beginning to notice a phenomenon. And that phenomenon, it seemed to be connected to the earth herself, as if our bodies were listening with the same intelligence that the earth was operating in at this time. So when I began this project in 2014, there were three things I was watching for, because you can't start a research. You can't start a research or an experiential, experimental activity without having things as evidence. So one piece was a lessening of illness and death. The second was a lessening of emotional, mental, and physical stress. But the third one was kind of weird. And because I knew that earth changes would be upon us in 2023 to 2027 as a psychic. And I knew that we needed to have the same ability to get out of the way when the mother needs to do her work as elephants and dogs and birds know how to get out of the way when Mother Earth needs to shift her body and change her body alignment so that she can include everything that's happened to her and then bring it all to the next greater whole. So we began to coin it geopathic intelligence, because even though we couldn't wrap our head around it, our sentient intelligence seemed to be able to pick up on it, even though our cognitive awareness was unable to bring it to articulation. So that's a big story. But then recently, I began to notice that I could feel, because see, the interesting thing about the earth is she wants her living forms to live. So she's not our enemy. We just lost touch with her. We just lost the ability to get out of the way. I once went to see the double eclipse, and a guru said to me, "Please don't go. There's going to be an earthquake there." And I said, "I don't think it's my time to die, so I don't think there'll be an earthquake. I think we're all safe." And I went, and there wasn't an earthquake, and we got to see the double eclipse. But it's a kind of intelligence of the body's connection to the earth herself, and knowing where you are, it is, or it isn't. And that's the oldest spiritual embodiments phrase that we have in all of earth. All of any tradition is, I am that. Where I am, that is. So it isn't about being at the effect of the earth, or at the effect of a disease, or the effect of circumstances. It's the phenomenon of a conscious being that where they begin to discover that where they are, the conditions of life seem to operate a particular way, and yet when they're not there, it might not operate that way. I had a boyfriend when my son Jeremy was alive, and he adored Jeremy. He adored him, and we called ourselves the Three Musketeers. My little 5-year-old son and this beautiful man named Clark, not my brother, another Clark, who was a postman, and myself. And what I never knew, his history, until after Jeremy died, and we kind of weren't a unit anymore because we were a threesome, I found out that he'd been violent with other women in his life, and never even any of that with Jeremy and me. I think more because of Jeremy than me. He was like an angel that came to earth for a short period of time to invest in me, and it's a deep appreciation. So, coming to the end of my story. So, I don't know any more about this. We're exploring it in iMagi USA, and we're exploring it in our collective WhatsApp thread, and we're getting present to things that have been invisible before, shifts and changes, and I just really wanted to let you know. But the important part is we begin to notice an astrological activities that seem to be a through line, a way through this, a way to pay attention and move through this, and to be able to observe ourselves and not only call on the what we need to be to align with the planet, but also, guess what always aligns with the planet? Astrology. So I found out that it's 0 Aries on March 21st, which is an eclipse, which is one of the equinoxes or so. One of the equinoxes, I think. I get equinox and solstice mixed up. So I do this thing called activations, where I just keep building our unity with creation because of what's rising. It's just about empowering what's rising. So I realized after watching this that we have a place to come together, and you may have your places, but I'm just inviting you to this party on March 21st. I'll have it on my website, tantramot.com. Easy. I don't have it there yet because my computer died and I have to go fix it today. It's up leveling. But on March 21st, at 0 Aries, there's a great video. I posted it on my Facebook just before this talk. And just the first part is just really yummy because it's the possibility to reset. And in the field of Tantra, we recognize a reset, and then we line up with that moment of a reset, and then we are in a collective ability to reset ourselves in a more direct alignment with the planet, with the galaxy, and with our bodies, with our minds, with our spirits, our emotions, etc., and our lives in a very interesting way, which is too much to get into right now. So the point is that there's that one on the 21st, but there's another one in April that's significant, and another one in May. So I'm going to take I'm going to take this opportunity to actually set up 3 activations, very inexpensive, $11, or all 3 for $30, and we'll see what happens. So we'll do it in a manner that we can talk about it in Facebook. My Facebook page is a sacred space for rest and courage, and maybe as a small collective, publicly, those of you that aren't with us in our global community as often, maybe we can set up something on the Sacred Space for Rest and Courage on that Facebook page so that we can begin to observe and begin to perceive in new and different ways that are part of what's emergent right now and a part of how we're embodying right now. So anyway, thanks for listening. This was a pop-in and a pop-out, obviously. I have to go feed my dog, or my daughter's dog, who's staring at me and looking at me woefully. I'll show you. See, he's looking at me woefully. And then I will take him for a walk, and I will begin my day. Anyway, thanks for being online with me, and thanks for you that watch later.